I'm Jenna Vanden.
And I'm Michelle Choi from MediaHope. Welcome back to Word from the Wise.
Today we're interviewing Professor Bruce Kirk about his experience in the broadcast journalism field.
Let's get started.
Professor Kirk, tell me how you got started in the broadcast journalism field.
Sort of through the back door. I went to college to be a pharmacist, which had nothing to do with broadcasting. And long story short, I moved to Columbus, Ohio, and met a fella who ran a recording studio. And we became friends, and I was sort of fascinated with his business, and he was interested in my voice. And he said, "You have a really good voice, you should do something with your voice." And I literally didn't know what that meant. And he suggested, well, make a tape and then go knock on doors of radio stations and see if you can get a job in radio. And I thought, wow, that sounds cool. That's pretty easy, right? No, it wasn't easy at all. It was tough. And so I had to knock on a lot of doors, and most of them just sort of laughed at me like, why would we hire you? You have no experience. You have no background. So that's, I got started part-time in radio. That's how I got into the business. And then I went from there and moved into television. But it was really through the back door. That was not my major in college. It wasn't where I had my experience.
So you've won some Emmys for your work. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me a little bit about those stories and what it takes to win that kind of award?
Probably some luck and, the praise of the Lord. Honestly, when I set out to do those stories, every one of them, we didn't set out to do the story to win an Emmy. We set out to do the story because we thought the story was important to tell. And it so happened at the end of the day, when we got before the judges who were looking at material, I guess we were just blessed that ours was a little better than somebody else's in their opinion. And it really is just an opinion. Somebody else could look at it and go, not so much. There were a variety of stories. They were really on all sorts of topics. One of them was what we call spot news, which is just a story about some breaking news. It was called a high-speed chase, and it was in Phoenix, Arizona. And we had a helicopter, and we had ground coverage with our crews on the ground, and we were following as the police were chasing this guy. And so we had ground video and sky video from our helicopter. We combined the two together into a story. It was a spot news story, which meant we had to do it that day. So the story developed that day. We put it together, wrote it, edited it, and shot it, of course, in the same day, and then put it on the news that night. So that was a pretty short turnaround.
What would you say is the most challenging part of being a broadcaster?
There's lots of challenging parts. I suppose the time element. You're constantly under the gun. Mm-hmm. In print, except for the internet, it's a 24-hour cycle in the sense that the paper comes out once a day. In broadcast, it comes out multiple times a day. So you have a morning, a noon, a 4 o'clock, a 5 o'clock, a 6 o'clock, a 7 o'clock, a 10 o'clock, and 11 o'clock news. And you're constantly having to do something for a very short time frame. You don't have a lot of turnaround time. You also have a tremendous amount of pressure with the clock because your stories in print are by the word, in broadcast they're by the second. So I have to cut it right down to a second, because when I get done with that news at 5:30 and the evening news is coming on with Brian Williams, I got to be done at 5:30, because guess what? He's starting at 5:30. He's not starting at 5:31 and 5:32. So you're really under that clock that you have to know the pressure of that.
Well, thank you so much, Professor Kirk.
You're welcome.